Hello friends, thanks for tuning in. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Jimi's death. Such an anniversary is something very special, especially when we talk about Jimi Hendrix. 50 years is a long time, and yet Jimi Hendrix is one of these personal and musical personas that we find difficult to realize that they really aren't no more with us. Jimi Hendrix is an icon, such as Bruce Lee or Bob Marley and others who have influenced popular culture and the lives of many. Well, there are a lot of bios and documentaries about Jimi these days. Most of his story has already been told, and yet it is important for me to address some words to you. I was very lucky to have two much older siblings that initiated me into the world of rock music at an early age. I will never forget the first time I heard Red House. That must have been at the age of 9 or 10. From the first note on, I was drawn to this guitar and to this voice. And I had never heard anything like this before. This groove, this sound, all of that has never let go of me to this day. Almost everything that Jimi musically did was new at that time. Plus, he was lucky enough to meet Jim Marshall, which definitely helped Jimi to revolutionize the sound of rock music. Jimi was a perfectly mixed bowl of different musical backgrounds, and he managed to take all of these experiences he made as a sideman, working on the Chitlin circuit with such artists as Little Richard, for example, and then merge all these experiences with his personal ideas. This mix going along with his appearance, and I think there's no doubt, had to explode. It wasn't until I started playing the guitar when I was about 13 years old that I realized how important Jimi Hendrix was and still is. Before that, I was a listener, but with the guitar in my hand, I became a believer. I rarely met a guitarist who didn't have Jimi as a role model. And what seemed to me as my own little world in the beginning of my journey turned out to be a huge worldwide community who saw Jimi for what he really was, a musical genius, to be equated with the great artists of classical music. If you limit yourself to his career as a world-famous musician, it was only extremely short. A star in the music sky that disappeared somewhere in the universe after only 4 years. So much prodigious talent lost so young. But the traces he left during his time paved the way for many guitarists who came after him. Jimi Hendrix, though, was much more than sex, drugs and rock and roll. And Jimi Hendrix was more than just a musician. In private, Jimi was shy and humble, interested in literature, especially science fiction. And he had his very own fashion style. His vests, scarves, bandanas and hats are still style-defining today. Jimi quickly cast a spell over the people, and immediately after his arrival in England in 1966, the greats of the scene, such as Jeff Beck, Paul McCartney and Eric Clapton, bowed to him. But Jimi was also confronted with lots of discrimination. The media, in particular, used terms for him that one no longer wants to hear today. Jimi was able to convert his moods and experiences into music and his music into colors. He was like a musical painter. And so it happened that his lyrics sometimes were obvious or hidden protests against this boring, monotonous, and partly racist society. On the other hand, he had the talent to write lyrics full of myth and fantasy. In fact, with his music, his message, and his persona, he was able to tear down the walls between black and white. Jimi built bridges. His guitar sounded painful, sometimes like a machine gun, sometimes like a helicopter, and sometimes happy and sweet. Nowadays, it's rather rare that guitarists form such a unit and build such a unique voice with their instrument. Some of his major appearances in Woodstock, in Berkeley, or others were pure magic, and one could really feel the bond between Jimi and his audience. Going away from the typical sound of the Jimi Hendrix experience, with the band of gypsies, he laid the foundation that would later influence bands such as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Living Colour, Eric Gales, and many more. As if hypnotized, his audience listened to his message and to his music when rhythm and lead guitar merged into one. He succeeded in all of this because he had enormous wisdom. And there are many people who say that there was an old soul in Jimi's young body. Unfortunately, he played his last concert on September 6, 1970 on the Isle of Fehmarn in Germany. And unfortunately, those last appearances aren't known for being the most motivated he played. It's sad to hear that Jimi didn't really want to go to Europe at that time. Hadn't he gone, you might think. While being in the States, he had built his first real home. And in New York, in his own Electric Ladyland studios, he set the course for his new sound. But that was before he was going to Europe because of obligations. So the departure to Europe felt bittersweet, and Jimi didn't really want to part with his creative work. His feeling for guitar sounds and effects, which he could use like no other, are unmatched to this day. And in the Electric Ladyland studios, where he had the freedom to work, his creativity found its peak. Even today, many guitarists are looking for that holy grail Jimi Hendrix sound. But even applying the same equipment, one rarely succeeds in sounding like Jimi. The spheres of sound and the great compositions and sensitive lyrics make a lot of its class. This unique groove in the voice, this unique phrasing of guitar lines, and this overall coolness is soft and vain by many others. Still, it's good to see how many musicians around the world are influenced by him, and it pleases the heart to hear Jimi influenced licks in different musical styles such as pop, R&B, blues rock and blues. Towards the end of his life, Jimi was pretty burned out. The unorganized studio and tour management and disputes with his management left their mark. Being overwhelmed with his ideas and plans, he lost track. A break, or at least a mentor, would certainly have done good to him. But at that time, there was no one who could mentor Jimi. Friends confirmed that Jimi foresaw his death. He once said, "I'm going to die before I'm 30. Sadly, according to the latest research, conspiracy theories are also intensifying. We don't want to get in too deeply here, but Disagreements in the entire death case suggest that Jimi likely died violently. After Jimi's death on September 18, 1970, there was lots of chaos and litigation over his recordings. There were controversial publications with strange and unknown studio musicians who finished Jimi's late work, and Jimi would certainly not have liked what was going on. Still, the Hendrix family regained the rights and has been delivering high-quality publications since. It really borders on a miracle that so many good recordings have been made and have been perfectly preserved during Jimi's lifetime. The heart of a real Jimi Hendrix fan just delights, and I hope we will see and hear more material for many years to come. Of course, the name Jimi Hendrix has also become a brand, and even today, items with the imprint Jimi Hendrix sell very well. But in the end, it's also a movement that ensures that this wonderful artist will not be forgotten. The legend lives on. This is ensured by the many musicians around the globe who cover Jimi's songs, reinterpret them, play them in public, share them with the young people, and combine Jimi's style and influence with their own to create something exciting. In conclusion, I can only say that every second that you spend with Jimi Hendrix life, with Jimi Hendrix music is worth it. I can only recommend everyone to dig into Jimi's world and to discover with astonishment that every time you think you already know everything about him, you discover something new and listen in awe and be amazed. Let's close with a beautiful Jimi quote. Music doesn't lie. If there is something to be changed in this world, then it can only happen through music. With that in mind, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to activate the bell so that you always stay up to date. Take care. We'll meet again.